In order to escape their mining colony, Rain and their friends scavenge a spacecraft adrift in their planet's orbit. However, while exploring the ship, they slowly realize what happened to it, awakening they were responsible. Hey everyone, LukeRipa here, welcome to Wikos and welcome to my review of Alien Romulus, the latest installment in the Alien franchise, this time directed by Fede Álvarez. Before diving into the new 20th Century Studios legacy movie, be sure to leave a like and subscribe and follow Wikos on all our platforms. You can find us and all our other reviews and content on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok and Twitch. It's no secret Alien has been somewhat lackluster since, well, Aliens. The AVP movies, albeit the first is damn fun and Requiem, while garbage as some sick killings, are not canon, so I shouldn't talk about them. As for the rest, Alien 3 was a dud and only the special edition made it decent. Resurrection best thing is the Xenomorph look, Prometheus is a gorgeous looking movie with very questionable writing, and Covenant is gorgeous but superfluous. Granted, the last two Ridley Scott's flicks gave us Michael Fassbender's David, who is arguably the best alien character with Ripley. After Disney bought Fox, we were all waiting to know what they were doing with it, and in 2022, the studio announced Fede Álvarez would direct the 7th movie based on a pitch of his own. I was really excited by this announcement, as Álvarez is one of my favorite contemporary filmmakers. His Evil Dead is probably my favorite in the franchise, and his original flick Don't Breathe is an incredibly thrilling movie. Initially, the film was supposed to release on Hulu, much like 2020 Spray. However, shortly before filming commenced, Disney decided to release it in theaters, and thank God they did. Not only because the movie's first weekend brought in an unexpected $108 million worldwide, but Álvarez's vision is incredibly gorgeous and cinematic. Not giving Romulus a theatrical run would have been blasphemous. The Uruguayan filmmaker approach to this movie is quite similar to the one he had with his Evil Dead. Production-wise, both movies heavily rely on practical effects to achieve horror in the most grounded way. In Romulus, which of course couldn't stray from using CGI even if it wanted to, that translates in amazing-looking sets, amazing-looking Xenomorph, and viscerally disgusting facehugger sequences, all of which is of course enhanced by Gallo Olivares' cinematography. Both movies were also shot chronologically, as both stories rely on gradually increasing levels of scope and violence. That brings me to the third and final similarity. Both stories have pretty much the same structure. Prologue: characters get to a place because of noble intentions, they find evil, get stranded, fun games or blooding guts, false resolution, and final resolution. Having a familiar layout certainly helped Fede Álvarez to pack Romulus' narrative, which isn't necessarily revolutionary to the franchise but rather complementary and extremely effective. The story takes place 20 years after Alien and tells the misfortune of a brand new set of characters where all of them decide to risk it all because society essentially failed them. Something eerily familiar in this day and age, and it gets sadder if we compare it to the original Nostromo crew where all of them clearly had lives outside their job. Updating the context goes through these kind of things. After the first act, Álvarez's goal clearly isn't to present the franchise in a new light, but rather taking it back to the original's grounded and gritty vibes, where the working class was the protagonist. The film does that in style and sometimes in surprising ways, and even dares to tie Prometheus and Covenant closer to the mainline narrative. Needless to say, I enjoyed this approach very much, but it's undeniable it will disappoint a lot of people waiting for the franchise to say something new. Even those surprising ways, if you watch the movie you know what I'm talking about, might be too uncanny valley for some. For the record, I really like that and made the film very much part of the grand Alien story and not just a spin-off. Much like his Evil Dead and Don't Breathe, Alien Romulus does not aim at a big number of jump scares, but rather at beholding the horrifying revelations and the dread they cause, which of course is the kind of horror I prefer as it is a little bit more intellectual. The narrative is of course nothing without strong characters and by proxy a strong cast, which we definitely had here. Aileen Wu, Spike Fern, and Isabel Merced play what essentially are archetypes which serve more as plot devices than actual characters. Yet the three actors certainly do a good job and make the crew really feel like one. Archie Renault plays Tyler, and his role is also somewhat archetypical, but still feels a character through and through, with Archie playing the role convincingly. Worth noting that in this kind of movies, archetypes are an integral part of the mechanism, so I'm not highlighting a negative. David Johnson plays Andy, an android who is reprogrammed to serve as Rain's surrogate brother. He is probably the most interesting character in the film. His backstory is really interesting and completely justifies his presentation as a person with disabilities. I'm sure it will draw some controversies, but wrongfully so. I was very impressed with the way Johnson portrays Andy and his evolution. In both iterations, he made the character memorable. I will keep an eye on this guy. Last but not least, Cailee Spaeny plays Rain, the protagonist. A lot of people will highlight similarities to Ripley. The comparison is inevitable, to be fair. They both have strong personalities, both care about their crewmates, and both don't disdain to get their hands dirty. That said, they both feel like their own character, mostly because the context in which they act is very different, hence demands a different approach to the issue and eventually the resolution. Spaeny does a fantastic job, but that comes with no surprise if you watch Alex Garland's Civil War. On the last note, I want to applaud the score by Benjamin Wallfish, which enhances the dread left by the Xenomorph and its existence. Overall, I score Alien Romulus with a 8.5 out of 10. Fede Álvarez back to basic venture into the Alien universe is a big win for me and wouldn't mind if he had another go at the Xenomorph. It also continues the great trend of 20th Century Studios' legacy franchise installments after Prey, The First Omen, and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Really good stuff. But what's next for Alien? Well, the first TV show of the franchise, Alien Earth, is supposed to come out next year on Hulu, so Disney Plus outside North America. The show is owned by Noah Hawley, famous for series such as Fargo and Legion, and will take place 3 decades before the events of the original film. Honestly, count me in. That's it for this review. Did you watch any Romulus? Do you agree with my review? Let me know down in the comments. Remember to leave a like if you liked the video and subscribe. My name is LukeRipa, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time.